Today I'm going to transform my £80,000 Porsche Turbo into a proper race car. I've already widened the arches, custom made the front bumper. Doesn't that look much better? And transformed the interior to make it just like the real thing. But before I show you this car finished and exactly how much it cost me to build this beast, we've still got a lot of work to do. And that is starting with the front end. Now it's almost finished, but there is one massive crucial part that is missing, and that is the bonnet. Oh my god, this is criminal. Now for me, one of the standout features of the race car has to be the bonnet. It just looks so aggressive. But there's one big problem. I've been searching everywhere online and the cheapest one that I can find is a full carbon bonnet for $16,000. And because we are doing this on a budget, we've got to do it like the rest of the build. We're going to have to custom make one. Now making one from scratch would be a bit difficult, but I found one online for an MR2 that had the right sort of shape for us to work with, and that one was only 75 quid. Much better. Now, I really want you to use your imagination. With the scoop in the race car, it doesn't have two vents. This template has two vents, so we're going to have to change that. But the size is the right size for the one scoop that is actually on the race car. So what we want to do is get this mounted into the bonnet first, and then we can actually cut that middle section out, fiberglass the bit in to make it one whole scoop. So no messing about in this video. Let's get cracking. Let's get cutting up a Porsche bonnet. I'm scared. First thing we do is make a flat template of the scoop out of cardboard, so we can then transfer that onto the bonnet. I tape up the bonnet so I can draw the outline of the template onto it. But before we do that, we mark out the middle of the bonnet with a piece of string and make sure we're happy with the position of the scoop. Now luckily the Porsche is rear engined, which means we've got a frunk at the front to drop the scoop into. But it also means we need to be really careful with the placement, because if we get any of this wrong here, we've just wrecked a Porsche bonnet. Once I'm happy with the positioning, we can then draw the outline of our scoop and begin to make our first cut. Will we go? Oh god. From like there down.
Yeah.
Oh god. A hard skull. Right. Oh. We're gonna be here a while with this baby grinder, like. Apparently that's all I'm allowed to do now, guys. Not allowed to do anymore. Aaron wants to have a go. So Aaron takes on the longer straight sections with the big grinder, while I stick to the smaller grinder for the curves. Now with the bonnet, it's double skinned. So right now we're only cutting through the top skin. To get to the bottom skin, we have to take the bonnet off and cut it from underneath. We get a little bit of movement, but at this point we need to peel the panel bond away from each skin to separate the two layers. Once that's separated, we can pop the bonnet back onto the car, and you can really see that scoop shape starting to come to life. Aaron's using the blowtorch to heat the metal and manipulate it down so it follows the shape of the scoop, because we don't want any tension in the metal pushing the scoop back out of the bonnet. At the same time, I'm working on modifying the twin scoop into a single scoop by cutting away all the excess material I don't need. So now that one side of the scoop is following the body really nicely, of course that is only half the job. The other side now needs to match it exactly. So I whip the cardboard back out and make a template from the good side to transfer across. Once I'm happy with the fit, it's time to prep the area for panel bond. I'm using 80 grit on a DA and sanding it back to bare metal anywhere the adhesive's going to bond. Now, if I'm honest, I cannot believe I've just got to cut into a Porsche bonnet and make my very own race car bonnet. Now, a lot of you have asked how I got into cars and how I've gotten to this point. And boy, I have came a long way. I'm going to show you later on in the video my first car. I don't want you to judge me for it now, because I was only learning at that stage. But right now, we've got to get this scoop in, set in place, let the bond dry for 24 hours, and then we can keep her lit. We're going to get this baby on. I'm excited. So we pop the scoop on for the final time and fire in 3 self-drillers just to hold it in place. And we're not only bonding this on, we're riveting it on too, just for that extra bit of support. So I start by drilling the holes for the rivets, and then out of nowhere, the bonnet hinge pops up at me, and I'm thinking, what the hell just happened there? So once that mini heart attack is over, I carry on drilling the rest of the holes. Once that's done, we give it a quick clean down, and we're good to go. So we're bonding the scoop to the bonnet. Now we are ready to rock. We're using 3M panel bond, which was wildly expensive, 80 quid for that, but Hopefully it does the job and doesn't fly off. That'll be ideal. We use the gun to lay down the panel bond, spreading it right across the full area the scoop is going to cover on the bonnet. Now this is the point where it finally starts to come together. First we set the scoop into place, pop in the rivets and lock everything in with the rivet gun. Once that's secure, we cut all the access away that we don't need and then fiberglass the scoop to make it deeper. While that dries, Aaron can start shaping the scoop into its final form, blending the edges into the bonnet, and he's even sanding the rivets down until they're nice and flush. So it looks like it was always meant to be there. The bonnet just needs a bit more sanding and a bit more shaping, and then it's ready to go off for primer. At the same time, I'm fitting the bonnet latches. It's a similar process here. We cut a hole with the grinder through both skins. Then because the latch sits on a curve, we go in with a Dremel to sand it back. And then it just drops straight in. Now this is how it looked before primer. And this is how it looked after primer. We actually did it. One scoop molded into a Porsche bonnet, and it completely transforms the front end of the car. It blends into the original bonnet so well, it genuinely looks factory. Aaron absolutely nailed those body lines, and now with the wings sitting beside it, the whole front end just looks unbelievably aggressive. So the bonnet is on. It looks absolutely incredible, guys, doesn't it? It's turned out way better than I ever expected, especially now that we have the wings primed and they're on, and this is my favorite part of the car. But when you look at this and you look above and you see the scoop, it's just all coming together and it looks exactly like the race car. But obviously every race car needs a livery, which we can fit once that is all done. But right now it is time to move on to the back of the car. Now the back of this car is far from done. We've fitted the big wing, but getting the rear of this car to look just like the race car is going to be a big challenge. And that's because of these bad boys, the big turbos. Because we've got turbos, we've got huge intercoolers, which means that the Turbo S is generally wider. So we've got that issue. This bumper was $3,000. And look at this, it doesn't fit. And that is a big problem because we want this car to look like the real thing. So like pretty much everything else on this build, we're gonna have to make this bumper fit. Now making this fit was never gonna be straightforward because the vent in the GT3 bumper is hitting the intercoolers. To get around that, we have to cut the vents out and try to reposition them. But to do that, we need to cut into this bumper, and if we muck this up here, that is £3,000 straight down the drain. This bit right now is the moment of truth. If the plans have worked, if this hole clears the intercoolers, then we are good to keep our lip, but if not, then we've just destroyed a GT3 genuine rear bumper. So we get it bolted on, and to be honest with you guys, everything up until this point has worked. But this part was difficult. Once we cut it up, it definitely fit better, but the amount of modifying needed to clear these intercoolers while still keeping the Porsche body lines and character of the car was honestly pretty daunting. We tried cutting the pieces up and reworking them back together. We tried taking surrounds and brackets off the intercoolers. We were even trying to DA millimeters off the already existing sections. But no matter what we did, we just couldn't get the clearance. And this part was proven to be really hard. This isn't working. So I've spent £3,000 in this bumper, and no matter what we do, I don't think it's gonna fit. I mean, we could make it fit, but it just wouldn't be right. And I really want this to be right. And I genuinely can't believe that we've just cut this up and wasted £3,000. What am I gonna do, guys? So now I need to find a solution. I did a bit of digging online and found out that a GT3 RS is actually 28mm wider than a standard GT3, which is what this bumper currently is. The GT3 RS is 1880 wide, which is also the same width as our Turbo S. The GT3 RS also has the same vented rear quarters as our Turbo S, so the two cars must share a more similar body shape. So with that bit of information, I ordered a GT3 RS bumper off eBay and just hoped and prayed it would fit. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if she fits. And right now I'm thinking, does this fit around the intercoolers? If not, we may have to cut this bumper up, and if we mess it up again, this is another huge financial mistake. So this has to fit. Here we go. She fits! Right, thank God, happy days, we have now got a bumper that fits. There is a tiny, tiny little bit of modifications we just need to do around the intercoolers, just to give it a little bit more room, but that's very simple, and other than that, It works. Now, before I can fit this bumper properly, we need to do something first that for me is one of the most exciting parts of the build, and that is the exhaust. As a car lover, I think we can all agree that the cars have to sound good. And the Porsche race car, well, listen to this. But check out the sound of this car. So yes, I know it doesn't sound anything like the race car. Well, the exact reason that it doesn't sound good is actually the exact same reason why it's going to be much faster than the race cars. And that is because this car has got turbos, whereas the race car doesn't. And unfortunately, turbo cars never really sound as good, but we can make this one sound better with an exhaust. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We need to get the back box off first, and that's easier said than done because this is still a factory exhaust, which means every single bolt underneath here is rotten. So I start by removing the clamps, then get the impact gun on to loose those horrible rusty bolts. To give ourselves a bit more wiggle room, I loosen off one of the cats, and after that it pretty much turns into brute force and ignorance. A lot of hammering later. And the back box finally comes off. Oh, trigger roast. With that out of the way, we can get the crash bar back into place and get everything ready for our friend Ryan to come over and build us a custom exhaust. Now this is Ryan, and you might recognise him from earlier in the build because he's the man who welded up our cage. This time though, he's back to work his magic on the exhaust. He fabricated this custom X-pipe for the Porsche because every proper exhaust setup needs an X-pipe. What have we got going on?
Exhaust is joining onto another exhaust, and then we're going to weld this exhaust onto that exhaust.
He's a man of many words, our Ryan. At this point, we're just throwing the back bumper on so we can check all the clearances properly. We're using 3-inch pipe from the cat's back, so in theory, this thing should sound pretty good. Once Ryan's happy with everything sitting where it should be, you ready to rock? Seeing this car come together is absolutely unbelievable, especially compared to my first car, which you won't believe what it was. The first build I ever did was my Audi B7 back in 2017, and back then I knew nothing about cars. First, Ryan starts by tacking all the joints together. He cuts the straight sections on the dry saw to get them lined up to the X-pipe and tacks those into place too. Now, I was so proud of that car because my family was never really into cars. And even my dad drives a convertible Vauxhall Atom. What? But back to Ryan for the X-pipe. Once everything's finally tacked up and sitting exactly where we want it, the rear bumper comes back off so Ryan can weld the whole thing properly. And just like you lot, I've had a whole list of cars I've absolutely ruined. Some in a good way, some in a very questionable way. But I wanted to show you guys a few of the cars I've worked on over the years because when you look back, it's mad to see how far you've actually come. But now look at me, eh? But I definitely still have a lot to learn, that's for sure. Anyway, enough of memory lane. Ryan's finished the exhaust, so let's see what it sounds like. Now this is the moment of truth. This is a reminder of what she sounded like before. And now let's hear what it sounds like now. You ready? Now, she sounded a whole lot better, but when she got warm, well, that was a whole different story. God, look at the cats! Holy sh! Look at the cats! Oh, Aaron, the flames are coming back to like here.
Yeah. They're glowing.
Oh my God, look! Oh my God! Look at the cats! Oh, I'm shaking. I'm actually shaking. That was mental.
It gets hot in here.
Oh, that is insane. Yeah, okay, I think we did a good job. Now, we've made some progress in the back end, but it is definitely not complete yet. And there is something missing, and that is the diffuser. As you can see on the screen, the race cars have a massive diffuser directing the air from under the car But these diffusers you cannot buy for a road car. And on top of that, we have these carbon fiber side skirts to fit. So having to fit those and make a custom diffuser, it's going to be a massive challenge, which sums up this whole build really. Luckily, we are not scared of a challenge here. So let's see if we can make a replica diffuser for a Porsche GT3R race car. What can possibly go wrong? So we want something that looks motorsport but still works as a road car. So the design has to be wide and aggressive but still not too over the top like some of the ones we seen earlier in the video. We start by mocking the bumper into place and taking a few measurements to see what would actually work. And as you can see here, mass really isn't my strong point. 675
Like this is easy.
plus 675, 1,000. 1,350? Yes! Nailed it! Once I figured out the really complicated maths equations, we start mocking up the diffuser with old bits of signboard we have lying around the unit. And to be fair, if you take anything away from this video, let it be this. Use what you've got. You don't need fancy stuff for every part of the build. Now, if we break the diffuser down, it's made up of 4 main sections. The first part is the flat sheet, so I cut that out first. Next up was the fins and the brackets. Because these need to be perfectly symmetrical, there was no chance we were doing them with the grinder. Now, because we're sending all these diffuser parts away to our friend Damps, we need to have something to give to him as like a template. Now, let's use our imagination. Say this is a piece of metal here. Now, this is not to scale, by the way. Damps is going to do all that later on. But we needed to connect to the top sheet. So what we were thinking was, if this is our fin, if we fold this little piece down, that means we can stick little riv nuts or bolts up through these little pieces here. So if we do, say, 3 holes, so that will connect the top sheet. So it means the fins can be bolted into the top sheet like that, and that is your fin. Now the next step after that is to get a little bit creative. Obviously we don't want a big square looking fin. So what we were thinking is, if we just maybe cut this down diagonally like that, and that is your fin, and that can go on to that, and that is like your little template. Now you can do this to scale, or you can send all those measurements across to whoever your designer is and they can do it to scale. In this instance, that's what we're going to do. So we sent everything away to our friend Damps, who drew up the parts in CAD and cut them using a water jet. It works by pressurizing water to around 100,000 psi and firing it through a tiny nozzle which slices through metal like butter. And now that we have our fins, brackets and sheet ready, it was finally time to start putting the diffuser together. This diffuser is Aaron's little baby. You have basically manufactured this from scratch. So Aaron doesn't really go much on camera, so I actually want Aaron to tell you guys all about this. What are you doing?
What we actually have come up with, we have now drilled and tapped these to an M6. We are going to drill and countersink the top, so you can put a little countersink algae bolt in it.
And while we're building the diffuser, I reckon it's the perfect time to tell you about Car Vertical. Now, I use Car Vertical because it shows you most stuff that sellers will definitely not tell you. Stuff like previous damage, mileage changes, ownership history, and even auction photos if it's had a rough past. You getting those holes drilled? Do you like a bit of drilling?
Love a bit of drilling.
Aaron's countersinking the holes with a 6mm bit from Screwfix, so when the screw goes in, it sits nice and flush with the panel. That's our cardboard template turned into a fully functional piece for the car. 1 fin down, 5 more to go. I can see the vision. And the best bit about Car Vertical is the fact that it has a score checker. It makes it really easy to compare good cars and bad cars side by side. We get rid of our template. Oh. Because this is all custom work, it really just comes down to personal preference at this point. I wasn't sure whether to space them out evenly or offset them more towards the sides. Yeah, I think I prefer it that way, with the bigger gap. Once we had the position locked in, we marked out the drill holes in the sheet, making sure everything was as accurate as possible. Then Aaron went ahead and drilled them. Because honestly, a car can look perfect in photographs, but until you guys know what the history is, it could be the worst decision you ever make. Now, this is a cool little tool here. It actually cuts threads into the hole so you can screw a bolt straight into it. And we use the 6mm tap for the fins. If you want to check your own car, I've got the link below. You can get 20% off a single report and up to 50% off if you buy the bundle. It's one of those things that could genuinely save you thousands, but that's enough. Let's check out this diffuser now. The bumper had to come back off the car so we could install the tie rods, and that's the front of the diffuser secured. As for the back, we got lucky. There were already 2 threaded holes there ready for bolts to go into. Now that's the diffuser complete, but before I show you the finished look, we mock up the side skirts as well. Originally we had the carbon fibre Turbo S skirts, but if I'm honest, they looked a little bit too tame for this build. So what we've done is we've actually added the second side skirt, so we've stacked a side skirt on a side skirt, and that definitely gives it that aggressive look like the rest of the car. Now that the diffuser and the side skirts are finished, it completely changes the rear of the car. It's lower, it looks sharper, and it finally looks like it belongs on track. These are the type of things that tie a whole build together. And it's not just a road car anymore. It's a race car pretending to be one. Now this is a huge moment. Right now we have successfully custom made the body of a GT3 Porsche race car from scratch. Now this has genuinely been the hardest build that I have ever done, but we're almost finished. Now, I know you guys are going to want to see the full car finished with all the body panels on, but there is still a few things left to do before I can show you the complete car. And for me, I think this is one of the biggest changes we've done yet. It definitely looks like a race car, but there is one thing that every race car has that this doesn't yet, and that is a livery. Now, as I said at the start of this build, the goal was to recreate a Falken road legal race car. And Kerr's Tires have given me the opportunity to make that a reality. And it would only be right if we built a Falken race car that looks just like the one at the end. Wait until you see his livery, because it's gonna look insane. First thing on the agenda to wrap a car is, obviously we've been doing so much custom work, so the thing is stinking. And what you're seeing here is months of sanding, cutting, fiberglassing, filler dust and primer. So I blasted all the dust out of the gaps and made sure it was nice and clean. To prep the car before you start to wrap, you want to make sure that your surface is as clean as possible, because any little bits that are already on the car, you're going to see it through the wrap. Things like tar, just general dirt, and in our case, some overspray from the white paint that we did with the interior. So you should probably know what this is already, but this is your clay bar. So we're just going to go over the parts of the car that we need to do. Now you can see we've got a wee bit of white overspray around the holes from when we painted the interior. If you've ever got overspray in your car, this is honestly one of the easiest ways to get rid of it. Just spray a bit of water on the area, grab a clay bar and gently work it over the paint. You don't need to go mad with it, just let the clay bar do the work and the overspray just comes straight off. Now the car's all clean and ready for wrap, the question is, what colour are we going to wrap it? Over the years I've seen many race cars and they all look unreal. But as you know from the start of this whole build, there's been one livery and one car that has stood out to me, and that is the Falken car. So check out these colours. Okay, so we've got 2 rolls of wrap. Dark blue is for the back of the car. The Tiffany blue is for the front of the car. So now it's time to get it on the car. So we thought it would be a complete shame to cover this fully carbon deck lid. So what we have decided to do is leave this part exposed, these vents here. Now the way we're doing this is with something called wrap tape. You lay the tape exactly where you want the wrap to be cut, and then the vinyl goes straight over the top of the panel. Now honestly, this was such an exciting moment because this is actually the first bit of colour officially going onto the car. Once we're happy with the wrap, you just pull the string through the tape and it cuts the wrap nice and clean, without having to put a blade anywhere near that very expensive carbon. And just like that, our first panel is wrapped. One bit lid down, about 400 awkward more Porsche shape bits to go. Now Porsches are not beginner friendly when it comes to wrapping. They look all smooth and pretty from a distance, but up close they're full of deep curves, concaves and sloping body lines. And the rear bumper was the one we were slightly dreading. So naturally we decided to attack it first. With panels like this, you can't always wrap it in one big piece. The vinyl physically won't stretch into every shape without fighting back. And that's when you start to get fingers, wrinkles, or the wrap trying to lift later on. So instead we pieced in the awkward sections first, and on the rear bumper, that's really in between the vents and the rear number plate recess. We are all hands on deck at this stage to get the car done. We've got all the gang in helping to wrap the rest of the car, while I've got a list of jobs we need to get through. Starting with these second-hand race car wing mirrors I got off eBay. They are like off an old race car. I don't know what race car they're off, but they're quite vintage and they're very, very cool. So they're made from carbon fibre. So we're going to wrap these to what it is on the race car. You can see there. It'll be a nice little detail, a nice little touch to sort of finish off the whole side of the car. And I think it's really important with parts like this when you're finishing the car that you do have all these like really cool details at the end. This is actually like my favourite part of the build, is adding all these. Now this is a carbon wing mirror, so I didn't want to completely cover it. I wanted to add a little bit of livery design to make it tie in with the rest of the car. So I used a wrap tape to mark out the shape I wanted, which sounds simple, but honestly it took me about 4 attempts to get this right. Once I was finally happy with the line, I wrapped over the top, worked it into place, and then pulled the tape through to cut the design cleanly. And then that left us with one very funky looking wing mirror with the carbon still exposed. It's a tiny detail, but it makes the mirror look like it actually belongs on the car. Aaron and Neville are wrapping the bonnet, and this is making the whole front end change completely. And while they were finishing off the bumper, I got some mesh from Amazon and popped them over where the vents are for the intercolors. It's little details like this that I absolutely love. It just ties everything in together. And while I was finishing off the other vent, the guys are in the booth priming the bumper and powder coating the spoiler brackets. And now this is a major moment. We're gonna add the livery. We start with the iconic Falken stripes on the roof first, and honestly, this looked absolutely insane. This was the moment the blue started fading into the green, and when you see it with the roll cage through the window, it just completely changes the car. I actually couldn't believe how good it was starting to look. Then we added the number 33 to the roof because this whole build has been inspired by the Falken number 33 car, so it only felt right to carry it through. The numbers went onto the doors, Falken went onto the rear quarters and the skirts, and we even added my own logo onto the rear bumper. It might only be a very small piece of this livery, but seeing my name on the car was honestly surreal. While Aaron and Tony were working on the rest of the livery, I was painting the chrome trims around the car to satin black, rubbing down the spoiler with 500 for wrap so it has something to stick to. Then I added heat tape around the rear bumper. This was one of the details that wasn't just for looks, it actually has a purpose. And honestly, I love that. The iconic stripes went onto the doors next, and once they were on, we can finally start building the trims back around them. The glass going back into a strip car always feels like a massive moment. Then the door handles went back on. Then I realised I'd lost one of the door bolts, which isn't ideal, but because Porsche is a part of the VW group and there is a Tiguan sitting outside, I checked to see if it had the same bolt. Luckily it did, fitted straight in, and that meant that the door was finally built up. When I finished that, the diffuser was ready to be put on, and seeing it freshly powder coated and ready to bolt on felt unreal. We are finally on the home stretch now, guys. The spoiler brackets are bolted on, we can put the rear bumper on. We also upgraded the lights to the 991.2 style lights, and once they were in, we did a quick check to make sure they worked. And they did. Then came the tow hook. And of course, if you fit a tow hook, you need the arrow pointing to it. Aaron's adding the final pieces of the livery, while I'm adding the final pieces of the car. And guys, look, the big wing that I have always dreamt about is actually being bolted onto the car. Then we move on to the front bumper. And I'm not being dramatic when I say this bumper nearly broke us. The fitment fought us the whole way. It came on and off more times than I can count. And every time we fixed one problem, another one appeared. But that's just custom work. You don't just bolt things on and hope for the best. You cut, you test fit, you sand back, you question your life choices, and then you cut a wee bit more. And somehow, eventually, it all starts to work. Now the last thing to go in is the lights. And obviously proper race cars have the yellow headlights. So we had to do the same. This is the final piece going into the car. And I actually can't believe we're about to finish this. So this is my BMW E31 4.4 litre V8. That's right. So this is actually going to be a show car in the matter of 5 weeks. Behind me is my yellow Mark IV Golf, and it is making some unwanted noise. After 2 long months, too many sleepless nights, and more stress than I'll ever be able to explain, the Porsche is finally done. From the E31, the first proper build I ever worked on, to now, 3 years later, taking on the biggest challenge of my life. This has been a journey I'll never forget. This build pushed me further than anything I've ever done before. There were so many moments where I questioned if we'd taken on too much, but every problem, every late night, every stupid little setback led to this. And after everything this car has put us through, we actually built it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my one-of-one road legal GT3 inspired Porsche race car. We did it. We actually built it. Every single one of us is absolutely knackered. I'm sure you can tell by the lack of sleep I've had in the last couple of weeks. Oh, it's a bit emotional. I'm even just trying to stand back here and look and see what my favourite part of the car is. But honestly, it's just absolutely everything combined. The wings that we made out of lollipop sticks, it's the skirts that we double stacked, and even down to the fog lights that we wired in last night, the yellow headlights, and this little funky tow hook that Aaron made that just slides right out and right in. There is just so many parts of this car that I am absolutely obsessed with. But we're not finished yet, because we may have built a road legal race car, but we are still yet to drive it. I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you think of the car. I would love to know your thoughts. And if you've liked it, then make sure you hit the subscribe button. I want to say a huge massive thank you to every single one of you that have watched along this journey. Honestly, it has meant more to me than you guys will ever know. But in the next video, hopefully we'll be taking this for its first ever drive. That's if it drives. And see what this car is really made of. Bye.